What is going on, everybody? Today we got a little bit of a different episode. We got my man Robert Mazin joining us, and we are
Oh,
going
hello.
to kind of tee this thing off and we're just going to have a conversation because him and I have known each other for a while and we wanted to kind of get together and just talk about hockey, talk about the world of sports, and talk
Yeah,
about what we see as, what's missing, problems, all the things. So really, really, really excited to have this conversation. And Robert, it's great to see you, brother.
Lance, always a pleasure. You're one of the most positive people that the world has given us. I'm always excited to talk to you. That was a great intro. My mama couldn't do it better than you. And pleased to talk to you. And let's share the knowledge. Let's share the world. As I know, you've been a connoisseur in the podcasting. I know you since like 5 years now. And we got
Yeah.
introduced by a very impactful woman,
Yeah.
Katja Stern. And she mentioned that when I met you, you're one of the top guns. You are the pioneers of this podcasting world. So I'm honored to be here. And to me, I'm sort of new to this. So please lead the way and let's share that beautiful knowledge.
Yeah. So I'd kind of like to tee it off first with like, your company, 369 Entertainment, right? You've been
369
doing
Sports
this.
and
Yeah,
correct.
sports and entertainment. Now, your business and your industry has obviously changed and evolved over the years, and I want to like
Correct.
dive into it because I think your direction with specifically athletes and hockey players is
Yes.
something that we both have in common. But how did you, before we get into that, how did you even get into that? Like how did what inspired you to do that and to be able to create such a successful company?
Well, nailed it. I appreciate you asking that. So, me myself, as we're all boys at one point, we all loved the sports, and as a man, now that you realize the importance growing up, how much sports is essential for a young man. And I was in sports all my life. I grew up in Latvia. I was born in Latvia. And one thing about it's a small country, but sports is like closest thing to God. As a ex-Soviet Union country, we were always influenced by, the propaganda in a way. So I grew up in a very sporty environment in a way. So played all sports like all kids. Since I was little, I was involved in soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. Hockey was a big one. Hockey, the 90s NHL. My cousin and his father was a big boxing enthusiast. So they got me into boxing at an early age. And then when things started to take off as I entered, 12, 13, 14, I got really into hockey. Hockey was that real boxing and hockey were my first true loves. I was a
Yeah,
goalie in
you're a killer
soccer.
too. You're a killer in
Oh
boxing.
Lord.
Fuck.
Please, sir. Please, sir.
Savage.
That at that point, there was a time where you can be a so sort of enforcer, and you can back then get rewarded for it. Nowadays, everything's so much more technical, and nowadays the world has changed. So, long story long, right? I had the opportunity to go to the United States at age 15. I joined a hockey program in Maine. My coach was Rob Gagnon. And at the time, I remember that it was nothing. There was no internet. There was internet, but there wasn't real internet, as you know, like 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
And, I remember my mother was like, listen, just go, do your thing, and we'll figure it out. And of course, you go to United States at 15, you just, hey, they have a hockey team, you go there. And I realized the time you actually put in at the time when you know nothing, you don't know where you're going, who's representing you, what's happening. You have so many issues, questions. And to be fair, I sort of was so lost that I had nobody. nobody like, somebody wise, for instance, like you. I know you mentor a lot of guys. Nobody was there to, guide me. Yes, I had the father who raised me and the mother who loved me. I had the support, but other than that, it just dropped you off in the United States and you realize, hey, turns out that this is what team, what level, nobody knows. And I got to the prep school, and the first thing I realized, like, hey, what's happening? Hockey season starts in November and it ends in February. I'm like, what is this? Now all of a sudden, I got to learn American football. I got to, hey, choose a spring sport. And I was like, what is happening? And to me, it was like a big thing that, like, nobody never knew. You just went there. And
Mm.
then I realized that, hey, like if I had somebody to guide me, go there, go there, go there, it would be maybe better. But it was still an amazing experience. So I got into this when I realized that especially young athletes, people in general who has this sort of, ambition to succeed, this primal urge to do something, they need guidance. I didn't have that. So I guess the main event why I got into it is just the fact that I can help people, help young guys like me, and, make sure they become acknowledged, successful, and seen, and most importantly, paid. So that's how I got into the, sports management, mentoring, and now also the media platforms as well. So yes, that's how we started. And I know that you were playing hockey in Canada as well. I was in Canada too, in British Columbia, and that's how we connected. I remember through the
Yeah.
stories about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that you moved to the States at such a young age, man.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. That was a big one.
Yeah, and that was a different time.
Of
Right? You
course,
didn't
of course.
have
That was that wild, wild
it was
time. It
a
was like nobody knew anything.
it
Even
was
MySpace back then was like, what even is that? So you didn't really have the reference for that. So
it was a
yeah.
great time, man, because it was almost it was the last years of kind of like the old world before, there was the pre
Right,
social
right, right.
media. It was kind of like, well, we got to see both, right? We got to grow up in both, and and
Best
then
of both worlds, man.
one day it
100%.
started to change, and then you start to get social media, and then you start to things start to get into the phones and social media, all, and like phones get faster, everything goes on your phone, and then all of a sudden the world just
Oh,
skyrockets in a different direction. And
hold
back then, that we didn't have the resources, right? Like you said, there wasn't a lot back then. You kind of had,
there was nothing. I had my little
what
flip
was there
phone.
back then? What was there back then? There
Back
wasn't
then,
much.
remember if you were the cool kid on the block, like
Yeah.
you were really cool, early 2000s, you had the 33 Nokia, the brick. Basically a cold weapon, you can, cook dinner with it and you can protect yourself at all times with that as well. So that was a 33 Nokia. And then it was the Blackberries, and of course iPhone came in like 2008 and 9. But up until then, just the fact that you can send text messages and call your girlfriend at 10 p.m. With 3 minutes, that was God given technology. So yes, I remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And I think now when I look back, I'm glad I didn't have that shit,
Oh
because
my
for a
God,
number
yes,
of reasons, right? And we can get into like athletes now for a number of
yeah,
reasons, for being stupid, but also the distraction. Like you used to have to go to a computer if you want to go and do whatever. You could go on the computer and then that was it. It was over.
oh
You
yeah,
want to Nowadays, we got our phones. It's all the time, and it's a real problem with focus, especially athletes. And I don't know about you, but for me, when I was growing up, it was hard enough to stay focused as it was. Distractions. Never mind having like access to all these different things at once on one device and just at your fingertips, man. It's insane. I don't know how
oh,
anybody is able to focus and stick to these things and not get distracted. It's wild.
man, you just nailed it, and especially now that, listen, we still grew up and your screen was, hey, if you watch Cartoon Network, that was like wow.
Yeah.
But now new generation with the kids, like the other day I was at we were at the gym and this gentleman was working out and his daughter was it was like she was, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years old, and as the man was working out, and listen, props to being a good dad. He still brought her over in this, but her head was like this for I don't know 60 minutes. She was like literally like glued to it, and it was all this, and it was like almost like a zombie state. So I don't know. The world is, if we believe that evolution, is necessarily for that, this is necessary for the world evolution, then yes. But I believe the children's nervous system just getting impacted by that, like we still grew on best of that. Like you're my generation, we get to see the boat. So I believe
Yeah.
that there's going to be a big value in our experience in general, because I believe nowadays what you said, you wake up on a screen, then you go to work, you're on a screen, then you turn TV on your screen, in your car there's a screen, and everything is up there. So I know what you mean exactly, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I know how much you are into the moral involvement of 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 human psyche. I believe you are the go-to guy if we need to ask for an advice. I believe that's why I think you're doing God's work, especially bringing these subjects up that people take a status quo and yeah, this is how it should be. So that's exactly what it is.
I appreciate it, man.
And
Yeah,
and
I appreciate that.
I also we talked about it before that ladies and gentlemen, me and Lance, how would you say, hockey world is very in a way conservative, but it's also I believe that it's still real, that people can talk things. And what you said about the situation with children, a big major thing is also with young guys. Have you noticed? Is I think one of the demons is access to the adult content. Will you have you noticed what's been happening lately?
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine that age.
It's
It just it's insane.
I think you can agree with me in this one. I have a friend of mine. She is a clinical psychologist and she works with children. And she tells me about the cases where people come to her, young individuals, college guys, sometimes even younger, and they have a very basic thing. It's called, when you can't be aligned with your little friend because your mind has been so, I want to way perverted by the things you have seen to the access of it and a constant basis, that young guys have problem with erectile dysfunction. And this is something that I even some of the players I work with, they have told me about these cases where, remember, for us when we were little, when we wanted to watch something, I remember for me to get out there and to see something regarding like adult content, I had to, you know, be carefully take the tape of my father's closet, put it in the VHS, then find out the spot where he watched it to rewind it back because you don't want to get caught. Then put it back and then pray to God you don't get caught. And that was like, oh my God. And this was like a mission impossible. Nowadays, like you said, you have your phone and there is wild, wild west. And what does that to young, not even athletes, the children's psyche. So
Yeah.
elaborate on that. I remember you mentioned it to me too.
Yeah, I mean, it's an issue, man. I mean, I think back, when we were growing up, yeah, you had to go and you only got it in these little bits, and it was, it wasn't so available and in your
Right.
face all the time. And now it's just like, yeah, like I don't, and this is the scary part, bro, is that we don't even know, because things have changed so fast. Like everything with our phones, and everybody's got the access to this stuff, so much of it. We don't even know what it's doing, really. Like we haven't even seen it long enough to really see like how it's changing the brain and stuff. But you hear about it, like you start to see these people and they're so dependent on it, and it it's not reality. So when you are with somebody in real life, yeah, it's got to mess with you, especially when you're young and you're trying to learn about yourself. And
Yeah.
that's what you base like reality on. And it just kind of messes with you, man. So yeah, and we're kind of in the middle of it, and we're in the middle of this
Right.
just
Right. Right.
overload of information. And yeah, the adult content, man, it's who knows what it's doing, man. Like it's scary stuff for sure.
Especially when nowadays, of course, like these, like the guys, yo, we think that, like, everybody has, they do the athletes, they go to school, they do their thing, they go to practice, but like everything else, there's so many questions, the things they cannot talk about to the parents, like who knows how to figure it out, like the things you see, the girls online, all that stuff. It's like, it's a crazy time for these people, like children in general, to be alive. So I
Yeah.
believe they most definitely need people to guide them. And like our generation, I believe we're a perfect spokesperson for that, because, let's just say I can talk about my father with it, you can talk about, parents, but in the end, we were the first ones that actually started going through it. We saw when, something showed up. We saw the first iPhones and we're like the pioneers, but we also saw the old world. So I know that you are big on the actual thing of, facing adversities. Do you think this is part of the challenge as well, on like basic things like these? This is something that, we must learn as well as we grow?
Yeah, I think it's kind of part of the territory now. We can't really there's not much we can do about it, right? And the same thing when it comes to AI. I think we just, instead of trying to avoid it, we try and build a better relationship with it and just know
Yeah.
that, you know, this shit is in our face. We have these devices, you know,
Hmm.
how can we curate our environment or our phones so that it just doesn't take over our lives as much?
The
I think
distractions, right?
Yeah, and I think that itself is I think everybody struggles with this too. And just about like the relationship with the phone. When you have one device and everything is on it,
Right.
you kind of have to look at it like, all right, well, how do we navigate this? It is really a problem that's not talked about in
Right.
society that much, right? And athletes especially, like you got to be so laser focused. And there's no room for distractions, especially in the small window that you got. And like I said
Oh, yeah.
earlier, for
Yeah.
me, it was like, man, I was so distracted by little things, never mind but the phone to add that to the mix because you have that one window of time, especially I think about junior hockey players. I think about these players that are at this key moment and I think about myself at like what I would say to myself if I went
Right.
back to a junior hockey player. Like, what advice would I give myself? And that I would just say, eliminate all distractions, get laser focused because all of the girls, all of the parties, all of the things that you think are so great right now because you're doing good and you're getting attention
Right.
are only going to 10 times, 100 times the more you grow, every level will bring you more of that. So you're
Right.
not
Right.
missing out. But if you miss that window because you're distracted,
Yeah.
you will go into society and you'll be like everybody else. And 5
Correct.
years later, you'll go, "What the fuck did I do with what did I do? I blew my opportunity because I
Right.
thought that I was living in this world that I felt I was on top of the world. I thought I had
Right.
everything. Nothing's ever going to change. My life is always going to be like this. I've been a hockey player my whole life. People,
Right.
cater
Right.
to me. And then when your
Right.
opportunity, you lose it,
Hmm.
then you're just like everybody else. And that's a shitty feeling. And that's how I felt. And
You nailed that.
I got caught in, chasing women and the parties and drinking and slowly, you got that other guy who is just putting his head down, just training a little bit, and eventually gets your spot and you lose out. And it is a game of inches. And this is why I think it's so important to be just so dialed and focused, and get rid of your phone, get rid of anything that's taking your focus away, because man, you got one chance. And if you blow it,
Yeah.
there'll be other opportunities in other parts of life. It's not like you're
Yeah.
not learning anything while you're doing this. But if you want to go
Yeah.
pro, you got one
Yeah.
window, don't fuck it up, you know?
And amen, man. This you what you said about girls and when did you start playing hockey in general?
When I was 5.
Oh man, so you're a real Canadian, man. You were like, yeah, but
Yeah.
that's true. When you're born, they give you little Bauer skates at the hospital, right?
Dude, I grew up in Edmonton, Alberta, where it was like, if
Oh
you didn't
wow.
play hockey, you're a weirdo, Like I grew up, and
Really?
I was very good for my age. I went and played
Yeah,
in some of the most prestigious tournaments as a kid. Um,
yeah.
but as I got older, towards as soon as alcohol got brought into the picture,
Oh
my
yeah.
skill
Oh yeah.
set, my work ethic slowly, was not an overnight, but you could just see, like, thinking back, it was like, oh man, like that really,
Right.
it really affected me. And when I was in juniors, when I was playing junior A, the team that had the most strict coach and curfew, I just
Yeah.
happened to have my best year, or my best season it's because of the discipline. And you just, you have to follow the rules. And some of the teams I was
Yeah.
in, it
Yeah.
was like parties all the time, man. Like,
Yeah.
and eventually you just bought your body, you lose your drive, you're not as good as in shape anymore. You don't really feel it
Mhm.
overnight, but eventually somebody else is a little more focused, a little more determined. And
Yeah.
so that's what I really noticed growing up, was you know, being really good and a hard worker at one time, and then just watching over the years how distractions just like destroyed the fabric of like my
Oh
everything,
yeah.
of like what I was focused on in women, and just like wanting to be validated by women. Like, that was a big problem
Man,
too. Like, it was
man.
like,
You just nailed it. I think I could openly say I was the same way. I think
yeah,
so when the time was like basically when you said this was a distraction, to me immediately comes to mind. Did you have those guys? I see in Alberta, Latvia is the same way. If you were basically this, if you played not like hockey, it was this is it, like Edmonton, right? If you
yeah.
played junior, the girls know everything. You're in the peak. And I've noticed this a lot since we work with a lot of, I mostly usually start taking clients, that we advise, you manage, mentor them, place them, you start realizing the new level starts about 16, right around the corner when that, in the world, I believe the best level for young athletes to take that breakthrough year is that U16 year, because the U16 year usually is especially in the United States, right? Where, everybody wants to be in NCAA, everybody's on that path. And I noticed that the U16, you still have that, the children's ambition in a way. You're very serious.
Mm,
You're not really involved into a lot of activities. But then that U16 level, the best guys, they go play junior, they go play QWMG, they play Q, they play WHL, they go
yeah,
USHL. The best guys go there. And the guys who don't develop as quick, they go U18, for instance. But the point I'm making is I seen it so much, and like you like a mirror to me. Like I liked hockey, but when you realize the hockey brought those, distractions, that's
yeah,
when the devil starts talking to you. And the one thing I noticed with the players, like, I have still, you probably seen it. I have gentlemen who play at the brick tournament, in Canada, right?
yeah,
The one, it's like everybody, Matthews, Kane, they have those videos when 10-year-old guys play, and it's like
yeah,
it's like a middle of a mall almost, right? And it's
yeah,
like the big thing. And you see these are like, wow, like world talent. And I had gentlemen who they come to us and they're like, oh wow, my kid just scored 90 goals in 50 games, right? And he's the next guy. And they think that, yeah, this is good. He's making NHL. And I tell them to this, gentlemen, let's talk when the puberty kicks in.
yeah,
Let's talk, like Elan said. Let's see what happens to your super talent once the fame, like children fame, the
Yeah.
alcohol, the parties, man, cool. We've seen all these things. I knew
Yeah.
guys who were talking to 20 teams at the time, 15, and by the time they were 20, they basically were done with hockey. So this is exactly what we're talking about,
Yeah.
like
It's a great
for
point,
sure.
man. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
it's
also there's those players, those ones that aren't nobody knows that they're that good. They're just kind of chipping away and
yeah. They may
they
be
end up
small.
yeah, and they end up becoming the ones that make it. See, that's the crazy part is that, and I'm sure you've seen this too, where you play with guys and you're like, that one's going to the NHL. That's the next
Yeah,
this, that.
yeah, yeah,
And
exactly,
then those
exactly.
ones don't end up making it. And the ones that weren't necessarily that great at 16, 17,
Right,
but just have like
right.
a relentless work ethic, good teammate, good dude, works hard, shows up, stands
Yeah,
in front of the net,
yeah,
does what it takes, doesn't complain, and just gets better, progressively better, rather than the guy that's like super cocky, he's out screwing around at night with, event, those are the guys that I saw that were the ones that ended up making it. And sometimes the
yeah,
guys that you thought, like the superstars, ended up not. And I saw that a lot too, because their egos
yeah.
get so big and they stop pushing because they have so much natural talent that they put the brakes on. They think that's going to ride them through. But then you got that guy that's like, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I can to get there. And I don't care.
Man,
And eventually that person,
man,
that kid ends up doing it. And I've seen it. I'm sure you have too,
man.
where, you know, it's and that's it. And that age is huge because
Right.
it's like a perfect point as to like, yeah, show us what you got now. When show us now that all the things you're turning into a man. Like, how do you handle it? How do you handle the pressure, the overwhelm? How do you know, are you still committed when you know that you could go and chase women and like, what does that look like? Can you still, like, there's so many things,
Yeah. There's
right?
there's 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 guys that you see that in every sport, baseball, basketball, whatever, when they're just like, the puberty kicks in. It's like usually like kind of I would say where I came from, we had like the Soviet Union. There were like Armenians, Azerbaijanis, people from Dagestan also, the Soviet Union, people we kind of look together. And I'm sort of a Nordic complexion in a way, right? Where my father's beard started growing. He was, I don't know, 42, 38. I'm still envious of your beard, by the way. I wish I
Oh,
had that one day.
I can't grow a
But
beard worth shit.
but but hey, it is there. It is there. But some people they were so like like I remember that we're like 12 years old. We're in the showers. I'm like, that's a grown man standing next to you. Like God, Jesus Christ, like and
Yeah.
they just grew bigger and testosterone kicks in and they just start to ride the wave. And at 15-year-old, you have a 26-year-old girlfriend. Talk about problems, right? And
Yeah.
they become so like in a way the stars and then they just overpower things. But then, like you said, once they come in the real deal, once they become that 16, the junior hockey, 17, 18, this is where the real deal starts. And I've noticed this the guys, first of all, like I think the first thing to succeed is like Sidney Crosby, whatever. Like you can still see like guy goes to see, I don't know, girls tournaments on Saturdays, like how much hockey is a tunnel vision. And a great example is the guys who succeeded, the guys who I grew up with, right? Let's say we played World Juniors in 2010 against Eberle, Stamkos, all those All Star guys. And that's when I realized, oh my God, we're never going to make it because the level is just so much better. And I don't know what are they doing. I don't know. But the basic stuff I realized was this the guys who actually lived hockey, the ones who study tape, who just, they're not interested in anything else. They make it. For instance, my neighbor was a Latvian hockey star, Zemgus Girgensons, right? He was a first round draft pick for Buffalo, I believe, 2015, something like that. He was 2 years younger than me. And he was never like the type of guy that's like, oh, he's gonna be a star. But I remember he used to come with us to skate with us, and he used to be like this kid who just didn't give a f. He just could grind and ran everything. And I remember by the time I was like what 16, 17, I remember that I was home and I like had a girl over, for instance, and it's like 5 a.m. And of course we did alcohol or something like that. And I see my boys running in the park, and that one moment I realized he's gonna make it. Like 5 a.m. blizzard, whatever. And these guys who are like this, the tunnel vision, they make it. Not all of them, but these distractions is what definitely takes away. That's why I tell guys, your girlfriend at 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, it's such a distraction in a way. Forgive me for saying it, but you're supposed to wake up. The competition doesn't fit, like give forgive everything. You wake up, you have 100% of the battery, right? I tell this to the guys. You think about, hey, practice, good food, sleep, repeat, you can watch video. But now when this young little lady comes in with her puberty, incidentals, right? Then all of a sudden, all your focus, 30% of your focus goes away to your little girl.
Yep.
She wants to do this and that and there. You want to make it, you got to sacrifice something. And I believe this is where you and me, we understand each other. We didn't have people to tell this. We were just like, okay, yeah, one day we'll make it. And then it's 18, it's a draft year. You didn't get drafted. You see guys get drafted. Then you're like, oh, I still got juniors. And then you're done with juniors. You're like, oh, you can go and play America's fifth league, fourth league, and you can go to Poland three. You can basically ride a bus for 12 hours, right, to a game and make $2,000 a month. And then, like, what happened? Exactly this happened when you were 15, 16. The guys who grinded it out, the guys who sacrificed all the parties, the bullshit, marijuana, even porn, the distractions, they had the best chance to make it. And even then, nobody said they're going to make it. So this is where we totally understand each other, Lance. So, yeah, this is it, the distractions.
Yeah. And you brought up a good point about players that actually get really, really good and how dedicated they are. But also, like, you think about what I've learned recently, you've probably seen a lot more Tom Brady on podcasts and a lot more you hear about him.
Oh
Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
and
Oh
and
yeah.
and and this is stuff that I didn't realize about Tom Brady because he wasn't in the media much. But he wasn't the best player when he started, but his relentless
He was fourth
dedication.
string quarterback. He was like what, sixth round? He was terrible.
He
Like
would
that's yeah.
watch hours and hours of video. Like he
Like his
was
own video
obsessed,
or like overall video. Like I didn't know about.
all of it. He studied the game so well and he just
Yeah.
progressed
Yeah.
over and over again. And then you see guys even like Jordan, like these greats, they didn't just accidentally get great. And not
Oh
everybody's going
yeah.
to be at that
Jordan didn't
level.
make high school team. I heard that too.
But
Yeah.
it's proof that a lot of these people, a lot of these guys that weren't that great, they didn't have talent as a natural thing necessarily. Because that's proof. Jordan didn't and Brady didn't. You look at Brady back in the day, he wasn't that great. He was out of shape, whatever he was. But you hear his stories about Michigan and just the guy's relentless dedication. And you see this in hockey too. And it's just like your commitment to doing the small things over and over again, not worrying about who's ahead of you or all this kind of stuff, worrying about what can I do
Yeah. Yeah.
today? Like what is my strengths? What do I suck at? What can I get better at? And just being humble and just continually to just work on those things. And all of a sudden you see Brady, oh, he's the greatest, he's the GOAT. Yeah, but then when you hear him talk about how many hours he put into his craft,
Right.
and
Right.
and I'm sure there's so many stories like that in hockey too. I mean, even Gretzky, like all these guys that are great, right? They talk about like how much practice and how much they studied and they took
Incredible.
it seriously,
Incredible. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of players, at least for me, I got to an age, and this is that 16, 17 age where it's fun to say I'm a hockey player. I get it's fun to say I'm this or I'm going there. It's a good conversation at the dinner table, right?
Right, right. Like your
To
whole
get the
persona is
girl.
I'm a hockey
Yeah,
player,
to
right?
get the girl, I'm this, but are you actually dedicated to the thing? And are you willing to get up like your buddy and run and do the things daily? Like that, it's the stuff that you don't, it's not the glamorous stuff, man. It's the,
Yeah,
these are the things I need to do. And this is the same when it comes to entrepreneurship. This is the same with all this stuff. And that I'm realizing too. And I'm sure you do too,
yeah.
man. It's like the daily fundamentals of the boring stuff compounded over time is what actually makes you better and actually gives you that edge,
Repeat that. That was good. Repeat that. That was good.
right? It's like it's the daily fundamentals, the daily actions compounded over time that
The
end
daily
up
action.
becoming that thing that gives you
Correct.
the
That
edge.
1% every day. That's the same shit. That's the
Yeah, and
same
it
thing.
sucks sometimes. Like, I
Yeah.
remember in hockey, like it sucks getting up and doing that thing. You don't feel like it's necessary. Or,
Oh,
to go to the
terrible.
gym. You
At
don't
5:30 a.m. in a cold drink, cold locker rooms,
oh,
driving somewhere. Like, what am I
terrible.
doing?
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
but I tell you, man, being a regular Joe and having to go and get a job one day and knowing that you blew your opportunity is not a fun thing.
Oh my God. Like, listen, and again, there's nothing wrong with being regular Joe,
Oh,
whatever the fuck that
100%.
means, right?
100%.
But the thing is, with these guys, like, imagine this: if you don't give it all, like, you never been in that environment, you're like miserable. And I'm not gonna name names. I'm not gonna name names, but I remember that when we played the World Juniors, right? We had some people that were like, wow. Like, we had a gentleman, again, that's the guy who spoke. He had NHL offers at 15. He was one of those guys. He played pro when he was 16 already. And I remember that he was one of those guys that everything came so easy that he realized there's no challenge anymore, right? And
Yeah.
then just we kind of go down. And then I remember when we were like 25, and some of our boys who we played together, they made it to the one guy, two guys actually made it to the NHL, but they were playing in the World Championships for the men's, the actual team. And I remember the biggest lesson I tell guys right now, and I think you might, in a way, this might align with what you said about being going to work, is the fact that there were guys who were less talented and who made it, and you were the guy, you were the top gun, and had the ability to become that, to be even higher than them. And then I remember he was sitting there, right? We were just drinking beer, everybody's like a reunion. And then we watched the guys who make it. And then you're like, oh, he was like, yeah, well, listen, if I wanted to, I could have done too. And I'm looking at him, like, everybody's just like, hey, just
Yeah.
stop it. Stop it. Because listen, if you wanted to, hey, you could have done it. But in the end of the day, not everybody's making it. Lance, the statistics are one out of 2,000 people make it to the NHL. And
Yeah.
even then, the average career is, what, 3 years, 2 years?
Yeah.
And like, that's such a finite time to actually do it. You're like, what are you even doing? And then even the fact, if you make it, like, come on. Like, the NHL, this old dream of yours, it's like that. If you don't give yourself fully, then you will suffer. And I see guys turn to alcohol, right? You've probably seen this a lot, where guys it's such a pain that they realize they just blew the opportunity. And then they realize, like, hey, what am I doing? And then there's the other guys. I know guys like that, listen, they gave it all. They gave it all. And then let's say they went to college, they finished college, they can do pro, they can move, Europe, or they just end with hockey. But in the mirror, you will actually look in the mirror and you'll be like, hey, mom, dad, grandpa, friends, I gave it all. On to
Yeah.
the next one. But when you're there and you're actually gonna sit there and like, fuck, I could have done it. You gotta live with that. Like, it's a tragedy almost. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about, Len?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you're saying, dude, is so real and so true because yeah, there's nothing wrong with being a regular Joe, right? There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Whatever that means, it's just people live like
Yeah, like
because
whatever that means, a regular job,
yeah,
there's
whatever
nothing
that
wrong
means,
with
it's
that.
just like this.
But
People go there. Right.
the thing is like when you're speaking from the lens of a hockey player that's made it, if you've made it to a high level junior, you're not a regular person, right? You've obviously, it takes a special person to get to that. So what I'm saying is like anybody that is like realize that you've done good things, like you've gotten to a level that most people can't. So while
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
there, realize that chances are this won't last forever. Like you said, it's you got a small percentage make it to the NHL. But a lot of
Micro.
players
Micro.
also don't realize that who you're becoming in the process is what it's all about. And you may
100%.
not
100%.
you may not make it to the NHL, but there will be opportunities that'll come your way. And you know what? They're
Right.
going to open up doors. But if you don't give it your all, like you said, and you fall into distractions, if you think that you're missing out on life, I want a normal life. I want to do what these other people are doing because it's normal. Because that's like the vision that you have at that age. I remember me, it was like, I'm kind of tired of this. I want a normal life. But and there's
Yeah.
again, there's nothing wrong with that. But the reality is when you are somebody that is at that high level and then sports ends, there is a death of who you are, a death of your ego when you have to get into society and do something else. This is why life after sports, this is why men, this is
I'm
why,
glad you brought this up. This is a good
right?
subject for sure.
Because it's going to happen, but it's going to feel a lot better when you know that you gave it your all. Like you said, you showed up, you could look yourself in the mirror, and there's a different energy attached to that. Like, you know how when you put your effort into something, you go like balls to the walls, you're like, you don't care about the outcome because you're like, I did the best I can. But
Yeah.
it's when you left something in the tank, when you know it, and only you know that, that is that feeling of like, oh man, I could have done more. And that is how I felt in hockey for years. And I had to make peace with it because when reality starts and you got to go get a job and maybe, and there's obviously value in that too. But when you're alone at night and you realize like, man, I can't believe I blew that opportunity because I didn't go all in with it. That hurts, but you get over it eventually. Right. But that death of the life after sports is a real thing. And
Man.
NHL players have
I'm
it.
glad you brought it
Yeah. So that's kind of the thing, right? It's like, man, I want anybody, any of the listeners to like to just realize like how temporary this window is. You may feel like it's forever, but man, like you know, and I know it. Shit changes quick. All of a
up.
sudden,
Right.
and you'll chances are you'll be fine. You'll be able to adapt, do something else. You got to that level in hockey, no big deal. You can do something else, but that just don't blow it on your own terms of not
Man.
going all in on
Hey,
it. Like make it,
plan.
yeah, like allow something else to be the thing, not you.
Right, right, right. Lance, I'm glad you brought this up because this is a big, big subject, and
Yeah.
you definitely put it on the map there because a lot of guys do not understand it. This finite time is what actually makes you, in a way, it is like an ego death in a way because most of these guys, let's be real, we have heard it from like my good friend Darius Kasparaitis, right? He's a big story from the '90s. Sean Avery mentioned the fact about how since you were a child, like you were put on a bus, you were brought there, like you had nothing. And the better you were, the more people took care of you. And in a way, you have this illusion of how the real world works. And, that's why this illusion of these millionaires on ice, on NBA, NFL, MLB, whatever, it's there. And now that guys who get lucky, they can ride with it. But even after the career ends, that's a whole different story. But you brought up something that hockey, sports, especially nowadays, and I bring this up to the people, ladies and gentlemen, if your kids make it per se, if they become that 0.01% of people who actually, succeed and they make money. Again, me and Lance, we're ex-hockey players, we can talk about it, but it goes to every sport.
Yeah.
You need to understand that this is the fact that your children are healthy, they can play sports and they can grow. It's just one of the biggest blessings and lesson you learn, because I believe the problem in today's society is, again, this lack in a way of masculinity, meaning that boys at young age, they don't learn these social constructs like little wolves almost, what it takes to become a man, to lose the fear of fighting, to lose the fear of these social things, because locker room is the best fundamental teacher for everybody. It's raw and ready, it's just the way it is. And this fact that you grow, you went into junior hockey, it's something that will be there for your life. And I always say hockey, if you make it good, but ladies and gentlemen, it's an instrument like any other sport. And this instrument is something that will be the legacy of you, especially nowadays when there's NIL, college, everything. This hockey thing is something like, for instance, even let's say, like you said, hockey ends and you look in the mirror and you say, hey, like, boys, we did it. I tried it. Now you have gained this valuable skill of leadership, discipline, of your name being out there. Now, like Arnold Schwarzenegger is the, I would say, let's not get into the political aspects of it, what he represents or whatever. That's his own taste, or like it or not. But to
Yeah,
me,
no, I get what you're
somebody
saying.
who comes from like this Austria, goes into United States, excels at bodybuilding. Now bodybuilding, an instrument, brings him to Hollywood. And now Hollywood, with the lessons from bodybuilding, brings him to the highest level of society, politics, whatever you want to do. And this is something, like you said, you can become, if you love hockey so much. Let's say you didn't make it to the NHL. Now you can be a GM, you can be a coach, you can be an analyst, you can create new hockey equipment, you can create podcasts, whatever. It will bring something to you as you become, or you just end it. But this hockey, who you were, everything else, it is such a beautiful experience. Will bring you everything in this life: money, fame, beautiful woman. You choose whatever you want. And this comes back down to the things like you said. We started the podcast, and you said a very interesting thing about how as you grow, it will 10 times. For instance, like there's this old saying that my mother might have used it. I don't know, but you will never lose girls and women chasing your dream and money, but you will lose your dream and you will lose all the money chasing the girls. And that is the biggest temptation. It goes in the Bibles everywhere. Guys, it's only gonna get better. It's like, talk
Yeah.
about the level of success when you attain. That's the least of your concerns. And I believe this is the distraction we talked about, Lance. And I believe we need to tell the world more about it so these people understand this hockey. And even at junior level, you played juniors, you played the triple A's. And how long did you play hockey till yourself?
Until I was 20, 20. Yeah,
Oh, so
last year.
you were the real deal, man. You went through it. You were chasing that dream.
Yeah.
And then at 20 you like kind of stopped, or what was the situation at 20?
Well, this is a good story for your listeners to not make this mistake.
Please, please. I want to, because my guys, this is the age they need to hear it from a
Yeah.
man like you. You lived
So,
10 lives, so share.
oh, dude, dude, you played high. I mean, you did probably
It,
you did
it
higher
doesn't
levels than
matter.
me.
It's the story.
Anyway,
It's the
yeah, I
fundamental
appreciate
thing.
it, bro. I appreciate that. And so, all right, when I was playing for Coquitlam Express, and I this is the team I was on, Andrew Ladd's team. So Andrew Ladd won. What has he won?
Oh,
Three
yeah.
cups.
For
Yeah. So
people who don't know who Andrew Ladd is, please elaborate.
yeah, he's won. What has he won? Two cups. One with Chicago. One with Carolina. He's gonna come on the
Yeah.
podcast as well soon. Um,
Beautiful.
but
Beautiful.
anyways, I bring that up just to give people context.
Correct. Correct.
So I got traded that summer, and it was going into my 20 year old year. I was in junior A. It was my last year
Yeah.
to kind of make shit
Yeah.
happen, right? Because I didn't choose the WHL route, which I should have. If I had to go back, do it again, I would have chose that for me at the time. But I
Yeah.
decided
Yeah.
I wanted to get a scholarship to the States, NCAA. But now, it's changed now too. So what I did 20 years ago doesn't, what you did, I mean, it's different now. So that's a whole other conversation that I'm
Oh, for
happy to
sure.
have.
For sure.
But
For sure.
so I had 1 year left, and I really wanted to get jacked. Like I wanted to be big. I was about
Yeah.
195 pounds.
And you want to get bigger.
I wanted to get jacked, and I wanted to just,
That's
I
a true
knew,
Canadian, ladies and gentlemen. That's
yeah,
like that's Jack for Europeans, but for Canadians, I guess this is lightweight, right?
well, yeah. And that summer, I knew that I was probably going to have to fight. I knew as a 20-year-old, I wanted to get stronger. So what I
Yes.
did was I made a very, very big mistake, and I went and I got a big cycle of steroids. And
Wow. How old were you? How old were you
I
again?
was I was I was going into my 20th year, so the summer of 19, and I turned 20 in September. So I was 19 going in my 20-year-old year.
That's
So
Winstrol, Deck. What else is
yeah,
in the
so
in
I
the book?
did I did Winstraw. No, I did Deca and Sustanon.
Man, that's the champion bouquet, man. That's real deal.
And
That is
I was shooting a needle into my ass once a week for 3 months. And I went from 195 pounds to like 220, 225. My face
wow.
blew up. I was a fucking savage. My neck, everything. And
You got pictures? You got pictures?
this was
You
so
got pictures?
stupid.
Yeah.
No, I might somewhere, and
Yeah.
this was part of my unraveling as I was drinking as well. So I was partying, I was going to nightclubs, I was getting in fights, I was like grabbing bouncers and throwing them. Like I had like freakish strength.
Crazy.
My legs didn't even fit in my jeans. And I'm saying this to just like the rapid change that I had of weight
Yeah.
gain and just drinking. And I just thought like, I don't know what I was thinking now. And I feel so bad for that young version of myself. Cause like, if I could go back, that's a whole other thing we can get into.
Did somebody
But
put you on that, or you thought you need to do the
I
cycle?
just was like, I wanted to take the easy route, and I wanted to cheat. I wanted to get big. People were doing it back then. It was kind of the wild, wild west. I didn't know much about it. It's not like now where, they talk about testosterone and all. It was totally different then. And I knew a guy that sold it. So I got it, didn't know what I was doing, gained all this weight, partied all summer, really messed up my body, got to training camp. My coach is like, dude, what's wrong with your face? Like, why can't you skate? Like, I wasn't skating that much that summer either. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. But when I got to camp, like I literally couldn't skate. I was so slow. I felt like my body didn't catch up. Like in my head I was fast, but my body gained so much weight so fast that I couldn't skate. I couldn't move.
Yeah.
And my coach is like, dude, you're gonna have to lose weight. Like I didn't tell him I did anything, but I just,
Right.
I was
But he
shocked. So
sees you just gained 25 pounds. He does see that, right?
I was massive, man. And
That's what I'm saying. He
I
didn't
just
like. He
had
didn't
didn't
like.
think like I was like, what was I thinking? I don't know. But then
Yeah.
he basically, they're like, look, we got to let you go. They cut me. And
Ooh.
obviously, and then I finished off the year. I was going to just quit, but I ended up finishing playing junior B at a team that we ended up going to, like, they were hosting the regionals. So it was a big tournament. It was like a huge tournament. So I decided, because
Yeah.
I'd played
Yeah.
there when I was younger, and I was like, I'll just go back. and just dominate. And eventually lost the weight. And there was a bit of a relief because my head wasn't in the game. But once that one season ended, so I went in, I finished off my 20-year-old year. We partied a lot. I was doing ecstasy. I was doing all this stuff that really messed my brain up, man, my final 20-year-old
On
season.
top of the cycle, right? On top of the
So I got
steroids.
out, I got cut from junior A, finished off in junior B, and I was partying and doing
Yeah. Yeah.
ecstasy. And there was, this was like years ago where like all that stuff was just everywhere and it was just a free for all. And I
It's
really
still
messed up
everywhere.
my,
Still
yeah,
everywhere. It's still everywhere.
yeah. But
But
back in
it
the
was
early,
easier back then.
back in the early 2000s, it was like, you know, everybody was popping these pills, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same now, but it was just different back then. It was a lot dirtier, I feel like. And I was young. I didn't know anybody, didn't have good connections. So it was just, it was ugly. So that
You
year,
didn't have a figure that kind of mentor you, something, but he just said, like,
no,
Lance, what the f you
no,
doing?
I didn't have anybody. I didn't have,
I know.
I was going
I
through a
know.
lot. I had a lot of family problems. You know, I talk about a lot of this in my book too. Like my relationship with my dad, I had a crazy stepmother with 4 kids, and it was just nuts, man. There's so many different layers to this, but that
So
year,
you went deeper than hockey. Everything was just deeper. It's
I,
like,
yeah. And once, so what I'm saying, it kind of ties into what I was saying before. At first, I was kind of relieved. I was like, oh, I don't have to play anymore. I'm done. Like I was just, but, but once that final year finished and the dust settled and the next year kicked in, I was like, oh man, what did I do?
yeah,
And I didn't know who I was after sports. I didn't know who I was. I could only tell the conversation that I was a hockey player for so long at the dinner table at my girlfriend's friend. You know, each year, I'm just not that guy anymore, and that was hard because I took pride in being that guy. Like, oh, Lance is that
correct.
great
And all of
hockey
a
player.
sudden, who are you?
Like, what happened? What
Yeah,
happened to your career? And I back then I didn't talk about my what happened. I held everything in, and I was embarrassed because I knew I fucked it up myself. Like I had all the opportunities. I was that guy that had, if I would have just kept going and kept my nose clean and stayed dedicated. My work ethic, I could outwork anybody. I wasn't the best goal
yeah.
scorer, but I would fight, I would hit. I was a
Come on,
hardworking
man. That's
player.
a role. Those
And
guys make money too, man. That's part of the team, man.
yeah,
Everybody
I
has their
mean,
role. Yeah,
I chipped in, you know, but I know I would have gotten a lot better if I would have just kept working at it, and I was too distracted.
right.
So that was hard, man, and I had to like kind of like you know, kind of figure out who I was after sports, and it took a while. But you know, like you said, there's opportunity after sports too. It is who you become. The skill set that you learn as a hockey player, you could literally take that, go into the world, and beat 99% of the people. Because nowadays, the people are fucking
Usually,
hopeless. Most of
usually.
them out there, and that's just
Oh my
straight
God,
up.
they don't know.
Dana
They don't
White
even
said
know
the
how to
same thing.
communicate. They don't even know how to communicate.
Like the
Yeah,
skills that you learn as a hockey player, even if you don't do
yeah,
anything with the sport, you take that and you go, what is something else I can do? What do I put the effort in? You will beat majority of people because your work ethic, because you're a good teammate, because you know how to put others above yourself. You know how to work at
yeah.
something. You know how to stay positive. You know how to focus. You know how to visualize all
Oh,
this stuff.
oh,
You'll dominate,
man,
right?
man.
So
Uh,
yeah,
No, you that was listen, thanks for sharing, man. I didn't like see that the roid part was something that listen, it was big in the sports. This is nothing that you should be. It's just part of the game. What I know so many guys who did that and guys who actually had the chance to, in a way succeed on that too. But I can only imagine when you're going into like, 19 years old, you're not even a man yet and now you got these testosterone like sky rises your aggression sexual energy everything how that messes you up who you are it's crazy to even think about so I think that the fact that you can share it is the fact that I think so many I would like to have a conversation for this to hear some of my guys who
yeah,
go through it because you're like an animal at that point it's just instinctive what to do like because people think, oh yeah, I'm just going to train, it's going to help me. No, 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 no. That thing will make you, You smell a woman and you will be like gone. Like
Yeah.
what practice? And it's like it's crazy what you said. And I
Yeah.
think if we go back to the conversation about applying sports to the real life, the biggest thing what I've noticed is this. Again, guys who made it. I know guys who made it because you know how summer maybe. In the summers I used to train. I put a lot of work into the strength and conditioning, right? Because that was like for you, I was never a technical hockey player, right? I know my strengths is this. If somebody to dump the puck, hey, I'm all in.
You're a
One
beast,
drop to
bro.
glove, no
I wouldn't want
problem.
to get hit by
Oh,
you.
stop it, Lance. Oh, stop it, Lance. Farmer, appreciate it. Only my grandma used to say that, but not you. But now it's that was two people in the field said it. But you see, the thing is, with these people who actually go, you notice this. It's like again, we go back to the Kobe Bryant's mentality in a way. Like guys, let's say we start training camp. Let's say it's 2, 3 month training camp and it goes for everywhere. Guys who, for instance, like I remember, like in the summers, it was this Latvian bodybuilding federation, right? I knew these brothers. Their father was a coach. They were boxers, and we had fun and we trained. No girls, just pure boys. And I remember that I did a big record in like bench pressing, right? At the time, it was huge, and I remember that we trained all week and let's say Friday and Saturday we do like it goes anywhere. It goes to strength conditioning, hockey, whatever, boxing, doesn't matter. You train with the boys, like you had a hard week, 5 days of intense training, twice a day. Wednesday was one, and then Saturday you did almost like that final, like end finale of this of the training. Let's say at 12 you did sprints or you had like a game or you did the whatever max squats, this first week of training. Then on Saturday you're done at 12. Of course, boys like us, what are we gonna do? We have Sunday off. Hey, call the girls up,
Let's get on
call
it.
the girls up. You get some drinks and we go to the city. We're like an hour away from the city. Now, like, you're supposed to, like, what we did was like, hey, as soon as practice over, shower, go to the city, go to some girl's house, like, let's do the shots, God forbid we have something else on the table, everything is consumed because you were like, yeah, you're that cool, we're those guys.
Yeah.
And then Saturday comes, Saturday night, you go to the clubs, you go to concerts, you just keep drinking. And then again, you know how girls want to have fun and you got to party with them till 3 a.m., 3, 4 a.m. And then you're like, girl, come on, let's go home. And now you're 5, 6 a.m. You want the pleasures now. And now you're done about 6 a.m. Sunday. Mind you, you haven't slept now 24 hours. You hung over. You're like, you're done. And now all that Sunday, you like slept a couple of hours and then like, oh, you got to go back to the camp now. And you just lost that day. You destroyed, you haven't slept. And then Monday, you got to wake up. You wake up feeling like, oh my God, did I get great? What happened? And now all of a sudden, you are that weight used to do or this like things you do. Monday it's like alcohol intoxication to like cosmic levels,
Yeah.
and now is Monday, there's Tuesday, and now by Wednesday you maybe get back on the level you were Saturday. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh
like,
yeah.
like exactly. And now there's the second part.
Uh,
The boys on that Saturday, they just had the hardest training. The guys who actually were about that life. They trained on Saturday. They went for a nap. Then they went into sauna at night, had a good lunch, dinner, had their protein shake, went for a walk. Next morning, woke up, went for a walk in the beach, maybe went to a zoo, just did
yeah.
something. And that night, they went to sleep on Sunday and they woke up in the morning feeling like little morning cucumbers. And hey, Monday morning, they start from that spot,
Yeah.
even maybe higher because they recovered. And now they, boom, you just came in. By that Wednesday, you just got back to your level. They keep progressing. And every week, you just close the gap, gap, gap. And then you wonder, like, how is he progressing and what happened to you? And to me, I believe for you, I realized how much time did I waste on that bullshit, on that thing that it didn't matter in the end. It didn't matter because you had the chance. And by the time I really started taking my life seriously, it was like 17, 18. And
Yeah.
then it was too late. By the 17th time, 18, the best guys are drafted. They play the best junior leagues. And hey, like I was happy I made the national team under
Yeah,
20.
that's good.
But after that, you close your eyes. You're like, where to go? You
Yeah.
go to like Finland, not the best leagues. And then I ended up to Russia and Kazakhstan. And when you open your eyes there, you realize, hey, what the fuck happened? And this is the story which you mentioned. It's just something that everybody should know how much. Same thing with Kobe Bryant. Every day you put in extra 2 hours.
Yeah.
Every day. A week, that's 14 hours more. Every month, how much accumulated. And that's why these guys make it. And you just sit there telling your grandma like what a great hockey player I am and bought your first eight ball with the money she gave for Christmas. The stuff that we talk about. Just the way it is, the true,
Yeah.
real talk, man. And I think people need to hear this. We can
Mhm.
talk about all the things. Okay, you got to visualize all that stuff, but the basic things, the work and recovery, nothing changed that.
Yeah.
This is where we
100%.
can elaborate.
100%. I think
But yeah,
you're like, yeah, I mean, what you're speaking to is instead of digging yourself out of holes all the time, you're building yourself on the foundation, right? Like, yeah, because think about it. You got somebody that is just constantly building on that next level, that foundation. But then
right,
you got the other
right,
person that's digging themselves into that hole and you're just getting the baseline again. You
correct,
know,
correct,
you're crawling
correct,
out of it
exactly.
just to survive, just to get to the equilibrium, basic.
Oh
So
yeah,
how are you ever going to level up? Because you're just always
man.
digging yourself to just to the ground level.
You're right. You're right. And
And
it's not even only about like, the guys who the problem is this goes so many of the guys who actually get drafted, right? You get drafted and now like God forbid first round. Now you're like I made it. But again, Kobe Bryant. In that moment, you just start because
yeah,
so many guys they did it and now they made it. But on that level, like for instance, there's only correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might get bashed for this, but I believe only 17% of NHL players play 5 years or more, and there's so
makes
many
sense.
cases, yeah, that like only like 25% of 17, something like that, play 5 years or more, and then they do these long careers, right? But if you look at them, look at the way Sidney Crosby, look at the way McDavid, look at these guys, like they're still fanatic. They don't they still work the hardest. There's so many remember 90s the Russian superstars, right? See, I see this all the time when the Russians came over in the 90s. So many of these talents, they became, I wouldn't say damaged, but you know how where we grew up, we were always like, the mentality was so rough that you had to like, hey, if somebody doesn't do it, coach is basically standing there with a whip and like everybody needs to do it. They're pushing you, pushing you. And this is the goes for young players too. Then they come over and here, hey, in North America, it's like, hey, don't want to do it, don't do it. Nobody's pushing you. And now a lot of superstars in the NHL, they came over and they realized, wow, you just signed $1 million. You're 18, 20 years old. Now you're making 100K a month, right? Like just what is happening? You're making like, it doesn't matter. You make 100K a month. Back then it was like half a million in the 90s, and you guy you used to train, now you gain 20 pounds over summer, you're like, hey, I'll get it done. And a lot of these superstars, they had these great careers. They blew up and they came down just like
Yeah,
that. And it doesn't stop. It never stops. You know how it is, Lance. It's either
so
you
true.
do it or you don't. Like every job. And by the way, excuse me to go back. That thing you said about discipline in sports, same thing goes again. Jorge Masvidal, the famous UFC fighter. He had the same thing about if you are serious about your craft, no matter you work corporate, you work at Apple Store, you have your own business, whatever. you know you gotta hustle as the CEO. Like Lance, you're a free individual. I see how you hustle, what it takes to you. Like Dana White, same thing again. The UFC functionary that explained that if you think that by yourself being your own boss is the easy way out, no way, no way. On Friday, you can go out with the boys, drink Saturday, Sunday, but there's some killers who will hustle, who don't take days off, and they keep going, going, going. And you just had your little low key, things on Friday and Saturday, and then Monday comes in. Guys are outperforming you. They're
Yeah.
better rested, they're better focused, and they're ready to hustle. You just came back from your calm down now. You have that guilt, shame, and it's in your face. You know how
Oh
you
yeah.
you you've done all this. You know when the drugs and alcohol wears out, you can smile, you can be like, huh, it's good, but in the end, energy doesn't lie. People sense what you've been through, that guilt and shame. You
Yeah.
cannot hide it,
Yeah.
and that goes to this.
So true.
So yeah, Lance, tell us about in general. You see, at the company at the 369 Sport Entertainment, right? I started about 10 years ago, and we started going into. At first, I had the contacts. I knew a lot of guys from. I used to coach hockey players. I used to coach boxers, and I helped them out a lot. And then I realized this is something I really love to do. And now, as we grow, there's not only the aspect of placement, now there's the NIL, name, image, likeness of you building your brand. There's opportunities, media opportunities. There's things that come with it because we are the one stop shop for these young athletes to become the best version. So you understand, you did everything. You see, I'm very interested in our collaboration and the way you mentor and the way you teach. You see, this is something that we discussed in our mutual project, like what it is that you think, especially with these young athletes in general, what is your biggest take on what would be your involvement and why they should start paying attention to your teachings? What is there that you teach to these young athletes and people in general? I know you're big on breath work. You're big of facing adversity, but explain more about yourself. I want people to hear this. What kind of man you are?
Yeah. No, I appreciate the question. Um, One thing I'll say is that anything that I talk about or teach about, it's through lived experience.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of people out there who talk about things. You see it all the time. They actually haven't done it, or they're not doing it. And for me, the reason is because I wish that I had those resources when I had that small window. And
yeah.
I look at my younger self, and I lost my younger 18-year-old brother to suicide. It's going to be 10 years,
Oh God,
2016. And that was part of the reason why I got into this stuff too, is because he didn't he didn't have the tools. I was living away. There's a long story about family stuff, but that happened. So there's been a lot of years where I just wanted to make a difference in the world. I worked in nightclubs and bars for so many years, lived that lifestyle. And eventually getting out of it, I wanted to make a difference. So getting into adversity, I really thought, starting the podcast University of Adversity, 8 years ago, about
yeah,
hearing.
yes.
I
You
was
were one
really
of the first ones who did it.
yeah, I was really interested in just the human spirit, right?
Yeah,
About what separates people who win and who don't, and how you take the shitty, the hard times and turn those into your opportunity, your advantage, into your growth, into wisdom. And I became fascinated by it because I went through a lot of my own stuff, my own shit in my life. So I speak from experience on the things that I did that I want to help others through. So
yeah,
along the way, I've figured out and learned from some of the best, athletes, celebrities, whoever, people who are making tons of money, very successful, on what those fundamentals are. And a lot of it is mindset. A lot of it is, commitment and dedication to the thing. But one of the things that I have gotten interested in as well is around the nervous system, right? And this is breath work. If anybody's not into this, doesn't understand it, breath work is a very powerful tool at allowing yourself to get into your body and allowing yourself to process a lot of the shit that is getting in the way of the mindset, the mind that you want to create. Because our body, where did my camera go? The
Oh,
camera.
sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
because, you guys might have heard this before, but 5% of our mind is our conscious mind. So the things that we
Right.
say, I want to do these things, I'm disciplined, it can get you far. It can only get you
Right.
so far, though. If your body, your 95, the percent, your subconscious, the programming that you've created over the years, the limitations, the beliefs, the people that fucked you over, the stories, the
Yeah.
bad coaches, all the things, the good, the bad, that creates who you are, because your body is your behavior. Like, your body is what influences what you actually do. That's why some people who say they want to change or they want to do something, but they don't do it, because their body, their programming isn't online. It's not aligned with their mind. So with
Correct. The
breath work,
program isn't aligned with their mind.
so you got to
Correct.
get your
Correct.
body
That's so true.
on board with your mindset. And some people can override it with discipline, like the David Goggins of the world. And a lot of people can. But there's also people who have a lot of shit stored in their subconscious, a lot of programming
Yeah.
that limits them. And they can't move forward because their body, there's somewhere in there in their programming that is responding to the limitations, the belief systems, whatever else. So you have to get
Yeah.
into that and reprogram it and condition the body, the nervous system, to get on
Yeah.
board with the mind. So what I've found is breath work, being able to,
So breathing can do that. Like
yeah.
actual breathing.
So nervous system
Like
regulation.
Wim Hof stuff kind of style in
Yeah,
a way.
like going deep, holotropic breathing, the breath work, where what I do with people is I put them through journeys that we start out, we kind of talk about what's coming up, what does they want, whatever. Then we set kind of like an intention on to, and some of this
Yeah.
can be visualization. Sometimes it can be like, who do you want to be? Like, what is it you actually want to create? And then
Yeah.
we use the breath work, we use the breathing to go deep and to get out of the head and into the body. And by
You go into a
breathing,
sort of meditative state.
yeah, so what happens is by breathing, doing the breathing, you're activating the sympathetic nervous system, which is good in small amounts, because what that does is that brings the stress response up, which means it brings a lot of the stored energy, a lot of the shit that's been hiding in the background to the surface, and you can face it and you can feel it, you can process it, and you can release it.
Wow.
And what we do as well is we do reprogramming of, visualization, because when you're in that state, a non-ordinary state of consciousness, you're able to do
Yeah.
different programming, and you're able to, and I walk people through visualization, almost like a hypnosis, right? And we really visualize to think about the person they want to be, how they want to feel, and releasing the stuff that's in the way. And
Yeah.
a lot of people, you hear about plant medicine and psychedelics. The difference between the two is that when you go and do psychedelics and plant medicine, it's very confronting, and it forces you to face that stuff that you may not know. And it can be very hard with people. But when you're using your own breath, you're in control of the gas pedal. You're in control of how much you want to push, how much you want, and you can slow down. But by pushing through that, you're going to build more capacity. You're going to be able to handle more pressure. You're going to be able to create a higher window of tolerance. and how that transfers into sports like hockey is to help you handle the pressure when shit is the most important. And essentially what I
Give us
do
an
now is,
example. That's very interesting. So, give us an example how a breath work for, let's say, it's playoff time, and you have a little dip in your performance, and you're worried. Please elaborate how breath work could help working with
yeah,
Lance. That's
basically I call it emotional fitness.
emotional
So
fitness.
to be able
That's a
to,
trademark, man.
yeah, to be able
Nice.
to create a rock solid nervous system
Yeah,
and to build the internal capacity to handle whatever comes your way. The
a rock
good,
hard nerve system.
like to be able to
Yeah,
build your internal capacity to handle whatever is in front of you. And that isn't always just the hard stuff. This is the
yeah,
success too. People get successful and they sabotage because they don't really believe that they're worthy of the thing. And that it comes down to what I was saying about the programming in the body, right? In the nervous system, in our subconscious. Because if somebody can't seem to get, if there's the same things happening, there's a belief in there, there's something
yeah.
that needs to be brought to the surface and processed. So when it comes to capacity, to speak into hockey players terms, so I'll speak to myself, like
Yes, yes,
when
yes,
you're,
yes.
the higher level you get, the more pressure you have, right? The
Right.
more successful you become in anything, the more eyeballs are on you, the more
More
visibility.
negativity comes with that. Right.
Yeah, and some
Right.
people crack. You notice how there's some people that can handle the pressure and some people can't.
Mhm.
The goal is to build that capacity, your nervous system,
Yeah,
to be able to hold it and to be able to handle and thrive in that pressure. And by doing that, by doing things like breath work, to be able to push through those uncomfortable times through your body, through your breath, you can start
yeah.
to you could start to create more capacity in your body. And you can create more capacity by doing hard shit, uncomfortable stuff too. Right? Like doing
Mesmerizing me.
putting yourself in situations that challenge you, right? But I have found, and this is why I've gotten into this work, is because it's helped me in my own life kind of see my blind spots. And I've
Mhm.
seen how when you combine mindset, when you combine like dialed in mindset with this work, you can essentially become unstoppable because you're getting your body on board faster with your mindset than when you're just trying to mindset through it, because you
Right,
only have
right. So
people's
true.
mindset will only take them so high. Because if you don't believe that thing, like you could say I'm going to be this, but if you in the back of your mind you don't believe that's true, then you're not going to do it.
That's the problem. That you just nailed the problem. That is exactly what I think is the reality of the process. So you actually with these guys, when you get into the state, it's more like you get them into this meditative state in a way, like you mentioned, like a psychedelic trip, or this is daily techniques. For instance, like you're on a bench and the third period starts, and you're like, "What I'm gonna do now?" Or like, "How does run us through it, please?"
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's when it comes when you do this work consistently,
Yeah,
you're going to have to test it into real life. And by testing, you're only going to know if it's working by doing the thing that used to be very hard. So if you're one of these guys who cracks under pressure, when you're doing this work, when you're doing the longer journeys like I'm
yeah,
referring
yeah,
to,
yeah,
the
yeah,
breath work, the meditation, visualization, the body work,
yeah.
somatic work, when you do that combined with like, your daily practices, daily breath work, like Wim Hof, right? He's done a great job. But the only way you test it is by
He
taking it
doesn't
and
know anything
trying.
about hockey. He doesn't know anything about hockey.
No. And this is the thing. This is why I think that I want to bring breath work. I want to bring this stuff that may seem kind of like out there to people
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
into like into the world that I wish that I had. And it doesn't have to be all like woo woo or whatever some people have of these ideas of these
yeah,
concepts.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just about being able to use your breath to calm yourself down, to use your breath to gain clarity, to use your breath to generate energy, to use your breath to connect deeper to God or into your intuition, whatever that is. Our
Yeah,
breath is so powerful, and you can use it to visualize. You can use it to think about the things that you want and how you want to feel. And combine that with things like meditation. It's to me, it's a tool that is just, it's undeniable. And you've seen it with Jake Paul. Jake Paul, love him or hate him, he worked with
cool.
one of my mentor who taught me. He's his coach. Like, he's worked with Jake Paul, and Jake Paul goes through exactly what I'm talking about. And he's been able to
Seriously, this is
win.
very good,
He's been able to win a lot. And I've, that's how I was taught. And I've just seen the missing link that athletes have. It's not just
man.
about I can do that thing. It's like going into the body. It's like really like processing the shit that has been holding you back, like really getting into it so that it can bring it to the surface, so that it can be felt, and it can be hard. It can be confronting. There's a lot of
Man,
tears. There's a
hardest
lot
thing
of
in the
pain,
world.
but once you
Command.
release it, you become liberated, and those things that used to get in your way are no longer, they don't have the power over you anymore. So I hope that made
Man,
sense.
Lance, that with me, I've definitely been involved in the situations which you mentioned, especially the experience you meant by the psychedelic experience. And I truly believe you do not need to go there if you can do, especially for athletes. This is something
Yeah,
that you don't need to be indulging in mind expanding apparatuses through
you don't.
chemical availability if you can do this. That's why I think it's such a major thing. And especially the way you explain it, to not crack under pressure, because this is the perfect example of, you heard of the practice players. He's
Yeah,
unstoppable. He's like he's sixth sense. And now all of a sudden you get into the situation where you are, and now there's real pressure. Now in practice nobody tries to really touch you, but now there's Scott Stevens in front of you. Now there's guys who want to take away your help.
yeah,
Now what do you do? And guys just get so afraid that, I believe this is such a beautiful thing that you can do for those athletes. And I will definitely make sure we start a process as soon as possible, because one thing is, of course, playing sports. One thing is, going to gym, doing all this. But there's also a fundamental thing. It's like that. It's inevitable, these techniques, and that's why we strive to become the perfect versions of ourselves, especially here at we have a lot of young athletes in general, and I see it all the time that they crack under critique. And you said it best: the higher they will go, the more critique, the more online bullying, the more like he ain't shit.
yeah,
He's overrated, and you face all those things and what to do now. Because hey, there's gonna be a million problems, and success is strictly correlated to the levels of stress you can encourage
yeah,
and handle. That's
yeah,
success, because it's not gonna be easy. I think what you've been through with your journey, like Lance, same thing about it. We got to make sure that my boys and girls, they read the book as well, because I truly, what I've seen you doing, especially the podcast you've been into, the tragedy with your brother, it's such a unbelievable journey, especially now that you can share with the younger generations. And the fact you found the niche, and I see you are now in Vietnam, right?
yeah. I
You're in
am.
Vietnam, and I see you doing little Goggins methods. I see the Wim Hof, and no, I see that. And right now, you do the breath work, but I think the breath work is the biggest thing there is. It's just like everything else. When you learn to calm down, you can fall asleep on breath work. It's like boxing. So many guys that get into the ring, and I've
Yes.
seen it many times. I've seen where we had an instance where a fighter, right? He was an amateur boxer, and at the time He was from Azerbaijan, right? Shout out to Fardy. And he was, I don't know, he came in, he was 300 pounds maybe. He was like big because, career ended and, like something went along the way. But the way I saw it, this, he was boxing an NFL player from Miami Dolphins.
Mm,
And Miami Dolphins guy, he is the definition of what do you want to call it. He came in, he was 6'4", 6'5", about 205, 210 pounds, chiseled, perfect shape, runs, catches, everything. And he comes in, he's a trained in the summer, right? Maybe he didn't have the best boxing experience, but the way they collided, and I see it all the time, that like I know there's a guy named who knocked out, Anthony Joshua, the gentleman who knocked him out. There's people who are not necessarily in a way physically strong or like in good shape, but they learn how to relax. They learn how to relax. And when they learn how to relax, they can encourage everything. So I go back to the sparring with these two gentlemen. One guy comes in, hasn't done anything physically for what, I don't know, 3, 4 months. And he comes in as far as this NFL guy. NFL guy was done after like a minute and a half, because he's so like, tensed up. He's so like pressured that his breathing is not right. This and Farley is just like, hey, just like, little 300 pounds. He's breathing. He's in the rhythm. He can go 25 rounds, 25 rounds he can go. And same thing goes for everything else. If you learn how to breathe your breathing, you can endure cold, you can endure aggression, you can endure everything in life. I think it's amazing what you do. Amazing what you do. And Lance, I'm excited to work with you. I'm excited for people to see what you're actually capable of, especially when you work with, what how hockey works. And yeah, most
no,
definitely.
I appreciate it, dude. I appreciate the kind words. And
Yeah,
with this stuff, just to make it kind of so that it's kind of understandable for people, it's because there's a
yeah,
lot going on in these journeys. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of it is kind of a lot of it is mental rehearsal too, right?
mental rehearsal.
It's about putting yourself in a state where you can feel what it's like to be in that situation before it's happened, and to almost rehearse it in your body and your mind first. And you can get there, you can go very deep through your own breath. So
Oh yeah,
that's how it transfers. That's how you almost want to you want to have those moments that you struggle with, those things,
yeah,
and you want to like change that story on how it unfolds, right? And you feel that, you think about it, and breath work is an amazing tool to be able to like take you into a world
control
that,
that emotion in that moment, right?
yeah, and you get what you
Right.
need. Sometimes there's things that come up, but that's what I like to work, because there's different ways that I work with people with breath work. Some people have some real deep trauma. There's like some real deep stuff. Like one of my last clients where she, it's very heavy. But when it comes to athletes, a lot of it comes down to it's almost like more of a mental rehearsal, more of a visualization, and really anchoring in that feeling of who you want to be and how you want to feel. And with our breath, we can really go there, and we can recreate that before it happens. And that is
Yeah,
sometimes the edge that you need in these moments when when you're under the pressure, or you have a big goal and you keep fucking up. Oh, I've been here before. I felt this before. I know what to like. You've
well,
programmed, right?
let me interrupt you for a second. That
Yeah.
means that I think what you just said is the part of where people visualize and they see the great outcomes. But what happens if you're boxing or hockey? What if first thing you get knocked down? Do you also visualize like the preparation of the things that could go
Everything.
wrong
You
as
got to
well?
feel it
Everything, right?
all.
You see,
But that's the thing.
that is
It's like
major.
I
Yeah.
used to do visualization when I was younger, like mental rehearsal. But
Right.
I didn't know. But when you have somebody taking you through a journey of like your breath and guiding you. It's
Right. Right.
it's just like being in a psychedelic state. And the deeper you can, the more you breathe, the deeper you go, the deeper you'll go. And that creating stress through your breath, like you're actually creating stress in the short term, so
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
when you go and you have it in real life, you've already felt it. Your body's conditioned to it. So
Yeah.
this kind of stuff, yeah. I mean, I just kind of wanted to kind of tie that up with hockey
That was very
because
inspiring, and I
there's many ways, to the breath work can be a really good tool for transformation. And it's
and
just
not
one of
only
the
for
tools I
athletes, right?
use.
It's
It's
not
just
only
one
for
of the
athletes. It's
tools I use, right? Like a lot of this is just one of the things that I have found that when I work with people in groups, one-on-ones, like that's like the main vehicle, but then there's other
yeah,
stuff obviously in the process, right? But
yeah,
it's the
yeah.
missing link I think hockey players need.
I think not only hockey players, but something that overall young athletes in general,
Yeah.
because it's just a whole different thing when you know what you're doing. Because everybody says, "Oh yeah, we're gonna train in the summer. I'm gonna shoot more pucks. I can watch more tape." No, 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 no. There's something deeper than that as well. It starts here. For
Yeah.
some guys, it's natural. For instance, they say that Michael Jordan's ability to be great to, when there's zero point 0.5 seconds left and you nail that three, right? When you, doesn't matter. Or like hockey, you have overtime, you don't miss the net. It's the presence. Like they said that Michael Jordan, he was present. Doesn't matter. He was never like there or there, like the ability to be present. The focus, which we go back to the original start of our beautiful conversation, is the fact that the 50 million distractions constantly, constantly, constantly. And I believe not only for athletes, Lance, what you're doing is a game changer for every performance. And I'm more than excited to apply it for our clients at the 369.
Oh, I
And I
appreciate it.
believe this is going to be major success. I'm glad we had this conversation. And for people in general, I think this thing is a big breakthrough. Like you go to the gym, you shoot bucks, you shoot threes, you hit the bag. But this is what you say, the mental strength and conditioning. That's what you said, or mental.
Emotional
You
fitness
emotional mental
starts
fitness.
in the
Hey,
body. Emotional fitness
hey,
starts in
for
the
sure,
body. Just
for
like you
sure.
lift, just like you lift
You,
weights for your physical,
oh yeah,
you got to
oh
train
yeah,
your
oh yeah, oh
emotions,
yeah.
your body.
Listen, it's the same thing about emotional fitness, about like how guys now need to understand. If you want to be a public persona, hey, go get that camera training, get this. This
Yeah.
is one of the aspects for you to become great at what you do. And I want parents and athletes and people in general to understand it. Lance, you've been that was that up I'm still very, very much excited how you explain it. And in my mind, I think this works. Ladies and gentlemen, this works. And Lance Esicos, your brand is facing the adversity, right? The school of adversity. And
University of Adversity. The book was Mastering Adversity. Yeah.
adversity,
Just
adversity.
realizing that adversity, unknown, uncertain times,
Hey,
it's coming. But if you're prepared
yeah,
and if you know that you are built for it, you know that you can
yeah,
handle it, you're good. Like it's
man,
and
man.
and there's always opportunity in these challenging moments, right? There's always opportunities in the unknown. But
Hey,
yeah,
you have to face that. It's like, hey, you want to get stronger, you have to break that tissue. No great man, no great woman, no greatness was ever born in comfort. Ever. It's
that's true.
impossible. The same good old thing about the smooth sea and a good sailor. Doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. You need to face adversity. You need to face the challenges, everything else. And as you grow, this what makes you the real deal. This is what it is.
100%, brother.
And I like how you are. And let me ask you this:
Like
how
that.
did the gods brought you to Vietnam? How did that happen?
I just I like Southeast Asia, man. It's just yeah,
I
I
like
enjoy it.
Japan. I like
Thanks,
Japan.
man.
Let's start with that.
I there's a nice beach here. I like it, man. Have you been out to Southeast Asia much?
Unfortunately, not. But all the fighters tell me how amazing
It's
Thailand is.
it's
It's
yeah,
like
Thailand.
I keep hearing it. It's like, of course, I want to go,
Yeah.
and if I go, then
Well, you're just running your successful business there. You can't leave, bro.
oh, you started it.
You're doing big things there, man. I just want to say as well, like with what you're doing, I've watched your progression. I think um, what you're doing with athletes and understanding the landscape of what's needed, doing the work that's required to just build good humans. That's what you're doing.
Okay,
You know,
okay. I like how you simplify
useful,
that.
good, useful humans that are just going to make the world a better place. And you see that in
Huh,
your
yeah,
leadership. You know, you're a very
thank you, thank you.
you're a very positive guy, but you're also like you have this edge to you too that's like don't fuck around. But I like it's like and I think you have this like it's really good leadership energy. You know? I know you know
I
that. I know
really
you probably got that
appreciate
feedback too. And that's what people
that.
need. These kids need that, you know? And you
No,
need that. And I
no,
think coming from where you came from, where you guys, I wanted to talk to you about this too, about because I didn't know Latvia was part of Soviet Union. That's me being ignorant. But
man.
that the way the world is there is just so different and the way it was that it I'm curious to like how that shaped you in who you are because I know lots of Russians. I meet a lot of Russians, and they got this like I can't even explain it. It's like not a hardness, but like a rough around the edges. But which it's good because you guys have been through a lot, and you're not soft, and you're just like there's something about, and I'm sure you see it all the time too. Like, speak to us about that for a second, man, because I'm
You see,
fascinated
the
about that.
thing, the thing about this, and you always ask the right questions that I could connect to the Western world as well. You see, the big thing is I always tell people, and I was born, and right after the collapse. Well, I was born still in the Soviet Union back then, right? And then in May '91, it all collapsed, right? And when it all collapsed, now think of this, which is, of course, still the biggest fear of the modern society. It's in a way as the grid going overboard. For instance, imagine the great nation of the United States. And tomorrow, Mr. Gorbachev or Trump at this time, they come in and say, ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has left the building and this is free for all. All the minerals, all the value things, gas, oil, etc., all the art, everything that this in the great nation of the things they had. Like how much of all the gold. Now it's all free for all. The police, nothing is there. All of a sudden, like everything is free. And guys go to town. As we know, as Jordan Peterson said, there's fairly aggressive, non psychopathic males who protect the society, this woman and children, from the guys who are not fairly aggressive, but aggressive and psychopathic. And now these guys form alliances. Now these guys want to take over, and people just, in a way, it's like the quiet civil war, which brought people to this understanding of you cannot be weak. Like as children, you see the good old, unalivings every single day. And as children, you grow up. In a way, it was a beautiful period, but by the same means, you saw how people there was definitely a Disney scenario. And as we know, the better life gets, the less people have these fundamental problems, basic needs. But over there, it's the basic needs necessary for survival. And the coaching staff, everything. Whatever you ever had, teachers, everything, they all went through that. And it's Of course, not out of a good life, but it teaches you not to be weak. Nobody was depressed. Nobody was depressed. Nobody was depressed because the only thing you focused on being what are you gonna eat today and how are you gonna grow? How are you gonna what are you gonna do next day? Of course, Latvia was one of those countries where the Baltic states were always part of Europe, right? It was where there's so much culture in there that was taken over by the Soviet Union at one point. So we still had a lot of Russian influence, right? And their culture and the morals, which I'm not going to lie, there were a lot of good things as well. You know, you can't be bashing nothing. Every country has their beauty
For
and
sure.
nationality as well. So I remember the biggest thing why Russians or Ukrainians or Soviet Union, even the Baltic people, right? It's we're all the same people under God, and then after all, right? So they come here. There's no small talk. People are very like they don't people are in a way defensive because you are very careful who you trust, and people see they come to Western society, they see the smiles and hey, how are you, how are you doing this, like you go to store in Eastern Europe, she looks at you like what the hell do you want. Over here it's like hey, how you doing, and it's beautiful. Like the Western society has more of that emotional intelligence, where the Eastern society has a little bit of more of that, street smart per se, because
Right.
people are more brutal over there. And when they come here, it's hard to assimilate because I tell this to a lot of guys. Like here, the fear, the closeness, everything gets taken as in a way it's the defense mechanism. And if you don't know how to be confident, positive, and spread your light in the world, you're considered something's wrong with you. Where, for instance, well, I played in the United States, I went to Finland, and then my last contract was in the KHL system of Astan, right? And I was there, and I remember that by the time I remember it was a coach name Anatoly. And I come in, people knew my role there, right? I didn't have to, be like pretend nothing, I was not afraid, never afraid of physical confrontation. If you know how locker rooms are. And the coach came, he's like, come here. He's like, and excuse my language, he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you smiling? Why are you smiling like an idiot? Like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, Coach, what do you mean? Because over there, if you're smiling, right? If you have this like, hey, how you doing, everybody? How you doing today? If you have that over there, especially the more far you go east, it's considered a weakness. So basically, kind of two worlds, same symmetry in a way. But this
Wow.
is where it gets really pushed out. And you can, I understand both. I don't judge people who come here. They're like, especially the Eastern Europeans, they're just seeing that they want to be protected and feel safe.
Yeah.
But once you get to know them, they're the warmest people.
Yeah.
They don't trust everybody like that.
That
And I
makes
understand
sense.
both, but you rather have the positivity and smile, when you
Yeah.
come here and you're like, hey, this is it. And a lot of times guys come in as warm and everybody, they get like this cold thing and you think something's wrong. But they don't mean negative. They don't
Wow.
mean bad. It's just they grew up in society where you have to, in a way, look over your shoulder first. Here, the life has been better, and the
Yeah.
problems that arise with it, has been like less than over there. So, I hope that explained the
Yeah, that
situation.
was
But
really
in
good.
there,
It makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
It's good to hear
What
from
about
somebody.
what about in Southeast Asia? Like you come there, like how do which I'm always interested how, especially knowing with the political influence from the West and Vietnam and the
Yeah.
situation, how do the people like perceive you over there?
It's so interesting because, they're a socialist republic, but like
Right.
it's not, but there's also a lot of private ownership. So it's like it's not like your traditional
So it's
communist.
communist
But
capitalism, right?
it's weird because it's like I don't see any of that in my life. Like it's like you can buy anything. I think it's more of
Yeah.
the locals, they can't own land. But as far as a foreigner, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a free for all. I mean, it's harder to own things, I think, like to buy real
Yeah.
estate, but we still can.
Can you buy real estate as a foreigner though?
I think there's a certain way around it. I think,
Yeah.
but it's real, man. Like I'm telling you, it's crazy because there's these amazing like Miami style coffee shops. Like I'm talking, you go to Miami, you go to Miami
Right.
Beach or you wherever. And you got those here, but it's like a fraction. It's like a fraction of the price. And you're like, how is it so cheap? And I know it's because of our dollar versus theirs and all that. But for a foreigner, it's pretty surreal, man. The quality that you can get of things for such a low price. It's just like, I mean, if you want to have a beer, it's like, a dollar. Like, I mean, it's hard to wrap your head around it, especially after being in like North America, especially Miami, like where you are. It's like,
Well, Miami is
$20
definitely
for a
not a
matcha
cheap
latte.
city. Hey, $300 lunch and a 20% tip already is on top of it.
It's
It's like
it's crazy,
it,
man.
it Miami is definitely not the place, a social measurement of how life should be, because it's crazy what's been happening here. And I
Yeah.
still salute the people who know how to survive under these conditions, because hey, it's something that I see why people go there and they enjoy life, because sometimes you look at this stuff and you're like, it doesn't make sense. So where you are right now, let's be real, that's the could be
Yeah.
the real life cost in
It's
a way, without that.
it's good, and I just like, I like that it's a little rough around the edges. I like that there's not all these
Right.
rules.
Yeah.
Um yeah, it just has a rawness to it. The food, you can just, it's crazy too in Vietnam because like it feels like you're back in like the 80s or something, because
Oh wow.
cigarettes are everywhere and all
Right.
these dudes, like the packages of cigarettes, you can buy them anywhere. It's like, back in the day when we used to go buy our mom's cigarettes. I'm talking like in the 80s or early 90s, and I'm like,
I
oh,
never had that experience, but I can imagine. But I can
it's
imagine.
just,
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's like you see things and it's just so different than what it is back home. It's like a
Yeah.
lot of these
Yeah.
rules that were in place, and it just kind of makes it just not that I smoke or anything, but like it's just funny to look at.
It's
um
just yeah. I I think that once you've seen what we've seen, you come from Edmonton, and Edmonton is
or
probably on
Vancouver
up
even
there
though
with
too. I lived in Vancouver for
the
many years too.
Oh wow. So what I'm saying is I graduated winters, I've seen like
Yeah.
minus 40 Celsius, and now it doesn't matter. I just like being in the sun, and I know what you're doing over there. It's very, but I still see that you're the international man of open mystery. I mean, and I believe that I can't wait to see you here in Florida, or I come see you in Vietnam. But other than that, I had an amazing time talking to
Yeah,
you last today. I
likewise,
truly
bro.
believe that the breath work and the things that you do will be applied to more and more people as this will grow
Yeah,
more. Because right now, people are doing everything to gain that. You say sport of inch, and I believe
yeah,
what you
get that
do.
ed, the game of
I'm very
inches.
excited to be involved you in in the future as well. And hey, this might be a weekly occurrence. Me and Lance, sharing the knowledge. Yeah. Oh yeah. As a Canadian, saying that, I love that. You got balls. I know, especially. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I love that, Lance. You came to the right place. You came to the right place, Lance. I thank you for inviting me on your on 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 adversity, the genius of adversity. Thank you, and ladies and gentlemen, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you. Talk to you.